Hello again, this is Charlie Belfontaine, and you're listening to the Homebuyers Hour on WCPT AM 820, where the facts matter. And thank you for listening. In the studio, we got a few guests, and the first one I'd like to introduce is Patrick Loftus of Loftus Law. He's our regular attorney on the show. Patrick, give a shout out to somebody and tell us more about your company.
I'd like to give a shout out to my wife. She's one of the few people that I know will watch this. Anna, shout out to you. You can contact me at 773-632-8330. That is my cell. Text me, call me, either one.
I love it. And then remotely we got with us Joey Matthews of the Federal Savings Bank. Joey, do the same thing for me. Give me a shout out and tell us about your company, please.
A shout out to Omeira Rios, my amazing processor, who literally is the reason that I can do the business that I do. Love her to death. She is a game changer. And Joey, man, did I say my NMLS 1330694?
You did now.
Over over at the Federal Savings Bank, running the frontline team over there, and you could find me on the social medias, Joey W. Matthews, or my cell phone to call or text anytime, 630-235-2405.
And I forgot, didn't you have like an Instagram account that always cracked me up? What was that?
Oh, no, yeah, my TikTok. Mortgages are fun.
Mortgages are fun on TikTok. I love it. And
yes, sir.
In the studio with us is basically my favorite guest, and Sarah, I'm sorry, but I do say that to every single guest, so don't take it personally. She's actually the current president of the Chicago Association of REALTORS. She owns her own real estate company. She's a self-sponsoring broker of Ware Realty Group, and she is also a certified minority and women-owned business that comes in the Chicagoland area. Sarah, please say hello. Give a shout out to somebody and tell us more about your company, please.
Good morning, and I'd like to get a shout out to the Chicago Association of REALTORS this morning. I'm happy to be out here. Sarah Ware, Sarah with an H, and I am, as you stated, Ware Realty Group owner and principal. My contact telephone number 312-576-8466, and I am on Instagram as Ware Sarah L. W-A-R-E, Sarah L, as in lovely. And my hashtag is Where in the World.
I like that. You know, it's funny. I guess I want to start stealing off of Joey a little bit and get inspections are fun.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
we could. I know, right? But I don't know if that's trademarked or not. So.
No, yeah, you know what? Ask for forgiveness later.
Exactly. Instead of begging for permission. I get all that. Joey, what's going on in the finance world?
Well, we continue marching towards our recession, right? The Fed is going to, CPI, Consumer Price Index numbers and inflation numbers are going to be released on Thursday, tomorrow, anticipating it to still not be controlled. There's a lot of speculation, quote unquote speculation, that the Fed is going too aggressive on the rate hikes, which has been terrible for the 10-year Treasury bonds as well as the rest of the bond market. So we are back up to just short of a 4% yield on the 10-year Treasury. Why that matters is because the mortgage-backed security market, where mortgages get priced out of, trace along with the 10-year Treasury yield. So as of today, the mortgage-backed security market is down about 60 basis points. 60 basis points is 0.6%. The reason that matters is because as the mortgage-backed security market drops, rates increase, right? So that's what we're dealing with right now. My hope is inflation comes in a little bit light, because if it does, I would expect to see a nice rebound. But again, I mean, I've been saying it since spring. We are heading into a recession that everyone seems to be in denial about, but that's okay. We've been through it before. There's never a bad time to buy, right? That sounds so salesy, but at the end of the day, it is a wealth accumulation tool. It is a way to stop paying someone else's mortgage. It is, it's in down the road, rates go up, rates go down, refinance markets happen, values go up, values. It just, no matter what, I'm always going to be supportive of purchasing if you have the means to.
Yeah,
go ahead, Patrick.
And it's a hedge against your landlord hiking your rent every year. I think that's another important
absolutely.
one, especially if what I'm hearing about the rental market is correct, that rent increases are a bit out of control.
And they're building more and more large rental buildings, over and over. So that tells you that there's a demand when it comes to all that.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
for all the, the finance bros that just got out of college, yeah, those one-bedroom high-rises are great, but, I'd love to see more for, families and those who are not able to afford, $2,500 a month in rent, maybe more.
And it was kind of like what Joey said. It's a great time to buy. And I always tell people the same thing. The perfect time to buy is when you are ready. I think when I first bought a condo, my rate was maybe 6%, 7%. I don't want to say how many years ago. It doesn't matter. But I wasn't, you just save your money and you buy what you can afford, where you can afford it. And if you want to, it still beats renting that outweighs it. So.
I'm over here grinning because every time I hear when I got my first condo, it was at 6% or 9%. I'm like, I was 19.
My parents would probably be like, what are you talking about? We were like in 15%. Like, what
I
is
was
this?
18, 19. Yeah.
But the pricing was a lot cheaper.
Of course, but it's going to do nothing but go up. It has been that way
Yes.
since houses were first built here. And
That is true. That is true. But and I've always made money. This is my fourth home, my fourth property, my primary residence, and I've always made money. So.
Which is awesome. I mean, I did lose at one time just because we were forced to sell it in 2008 when everything crashed. So we ended up losing money on that house. And
Joey, we don't think crash, do we? We're saying recession, even though I don't like to say that. We're not thinking crash.
Oh my gosh,
that was a light switch. I don't
Totally.
care what anybody says. That thing flipped off and everything stopped.
So I think people are thinking that, but when I say when I hear recession, it's just more of a softening of the market.
And Joey, you used the term wealth, when you were talking about the rates and everything else, and that is a big word for me. And everybody here, please, tell me I'm wrong, but I always thought that you need savings, you need investments, and you need real estate. Those are the big three diversities in order to build wealth.
And that's interesting that you say that.
Why is that?
Because how did you learn that?
My brother-in-law is a financial guru, and he's the one who explained all that stuff to me, and then the light bulb went on my head. I'm not the brightest person in the world.
I don't say that from that perspective. I say it from a perspective of, in certain diverse in cultures, we think of wealth, you laid it out in three different buckets. We just start with the basic savings. Let's just start there.
Yeah.
So I learned about buying a house by going to homebuyer seminars, and I grew up in a house, so I understood that, and I'm finding that is not the case. So building wealth just has different meanings for different cultures.
Yeah. That's interesting. More. I want to hear more on that.
Well,
and then let's not be afraid to get out what cultures we're talking about either. You're
talking about it. Like, I deal with a lot of people that African American that buy homes, and they're buying their first home in their 50s, 60s, and I just knew that I grew up in a house, and it may not have been a big house, but we didn't have a car, but it was my brothers and my sister and I. We were in one room, and then my parents were in another, and that was fine. But I always had in my mind, like, I just assume you buy a house, and then I see all these people in an apartment. I wanted to know what that was, and get an apartment. I didn't. I'm like, what is this thing every year I'm getting going up every year? So I end up educating myself by like free seminars and just going to those, and then bought a condo and just bought it. I didn't even talk to my parents. I just assumed that that's what you do. And I think it was like 20 or 21 when I bought my first condo, because I didn't go.
21 is actually pretty young. That's good.
Yes, and I didn't go to college. I mean, I'm finishing now, but I didn't go to college right after school. So my friends came home from school and was like, "How did you know to get a house?" I'm like, "I needed a place to live."
I would have had that same question at 21. I mean, at 21, well, I don't want to tell you what my priorities were, but it wasn't buying a house.
Yeah, I mean, it was a condo, and it was $60,000 in Woodlawn, and I thought I was going to live there forever. Sold it for $100 4 years later. Bought a condo for new construction, $175. Sold it for $275 4 years later, and then have a house now that I have about $200,000 worth of equity in it.
Nice.
And then I'm a landlord as well. But this is all self-taught, like just listening to radio shows, going to seminars. And the only reason I became a realtor was because I wanted access. I was like, oh, they're not working fast enough. Let me just get my license. And I only did it for investment. And now I'm the president.
Look at that. And we are going to talk
And
about
I need to
the
be addressed.
Chicago
I need to be
Association of
addressed
Realtors
as Madam
soon.
President. Joey, you hear that? I need to be
All right.
Madam President.
Madam
You better believe I will, Madam President.
I'm not Madam President, you know. Absolutely.
I mean, I got 1 year. I'm 7, 8 days in. I haven't been impeached yet, so I just need to.
You're tenured now.
Yeah. All you got,
my pension is ready.
you got 358 more days to go. You'll make it.
Yeah,
you know, what can they do now, right?
Right.
I think there's higher aspirations than let's just not get impeached.
But you did bring up a good point. You know, I
Well,
love
I
words
mean-
like, you know, normal. And
Yes.
I love words like society, you know, and what's normal is different in different societies.
Exactly.
And this is, you know,
Like it was normal for you to have that conversation.
it really wasn't. I'm going to argue just a tad because it was awkward, you know. This is my brother-in-law, and you're talking to me about my personal finances.
Yeah, yes.
But he cares about his
Yeah.
sister is the big thing, and he just said the hell with me.
Because you're not going to live.
tell
He's
me
like,
about
he's
it.
not coming to live with me. Let me make sure he doesn't.
Exactly. But he's a smart guy, you know, and I love him to death. I really do. And even though he doesn't listen to my radio show, so Bernie,
He's probably listening today.
not today he isn't, but I know who is listening. My number one fan is my father-in-law. So Bernie, you talk to Joe and make Joe listen to our radio show.
Hey,
All right,
Ber-
it's
hey,
that plain
Bernie.
and simple. He's the president of our fan club. So we do have a fan club. You didn't know
Really?
that? Yeah, you want to know how many members we got?
It doesn't matter.
We
It
got
doesn't matter.
one.
It doesn't.
You got a
know
fan
what?
club. That's all that matters.
Exactly.
I think my wife would join up, so we can get
There
a
we
second
go.
one.
All right, she'll be the VP of this. Oh, we got to have a secretary treasurer coming in there. All right, let's get back to work. You know, enough of the clowning around here. I want to learn more about. Let's focus on CAR. All right, the Chicago Association of Realtors.
And it will be rebranded shortly to Chicago Realtors.
I like that. They're
Yes.
kind of following suit with the Illinois Association
It's, yes,
of
technically
Realtors.
it's still the name, but we're just going to, for branding purposes, Chicago Realtors. I'm sure they'll appreciate that.
Why not? Why wouldn't they? You think that they'd be upset with that?
Oh,
or?
no. I mean, seriously, because all of our packaging is being rebranded. So Chicago Realtors, but people,
All right.
it's still the Chicago Association because California is CAR, and
All
they're
right.
very distinct on the CAR. But we just want to say Chicago Realtors.
Fair enough. What is the primary goal of the Chicago Realtors? I'm going to start with the new name now, Madam President.
Oh, I like that,
Yeah.
Madam President. So the primary, they would be the leading voice in real estate for our for our members and in the community. So I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, we started a committee called the Diversity 77. So every community has a realtor member that is kind of like leading voice in that community where it's like what's going on, advocacy, politics, and to be the first line in the association. So there's a Facebook page as well. So like them on Facebook and the Chicago Realtors, and get in front of advocacy because I don't think realtors, lenders, I think in addition to doing our profession, I think advocacy is probably our number one.
And when you're talking about advocacy, are you talking about advocacy to the home buyers? Because that's big to me.
It's
or
all-
are you
to-
talking
to
about real
everyone.
estate, everyone involved in the whole
Everyone in the
business?
transaction.
Okay, fair.
Because we all need each other. It's like a flow chart, but we're all like, and then we try to form a team. So that's what we try to educate our clients on to make sure that you have your A team. Because we're all working together. We all want to get to that finish line. And the inspector, from the attorney, and the lender, and everyone thinks they can do our job. Google has made everyone a licensed inspector, lawyer, and lender, and realtor.
And YouTube.
And then HGTV, and I do like all of those things, but we have to understand that they are for entertainment purposes only.
Right.
And then there's those LLC realtors on Instagram that don't show the true profession.
I'm
But-
curious on the LLC. You said that to me a couple of times. And I know LLC legally means limited liability
Right.
company,
Well,
but
we
what do
just
you
say
mean by that?
We say LLC like they're a real company on Instagram allegedly, but in real life they're really not doing anything. So it's kind of like an inside joke,
Gotcha.
like Black Twitter.
So it's a.
I don't know if you heard of that.
No, I haven't heard of that. Tell me
have.
about Black
Yeah,
Twitter.
yeah.
Have you?
I spend a lot of time on the internet.
All right.
Yes.
Well, maybe
It's like-
I don't have enough. I'm too busy making training videos
No,
or
it's not.
something.
It's not. It's just like we're like if it's something mainstream, like okay, it's one of those like let me go to Black Twitter to see what's really going on, like in the world. Like when
That's
Herschel Walker,
interesting.
there may be the Herschel Walker story on the mainstream, but then we're like, what are we saying about this?
Ooh, I'm kind of now I'm gonna go over and check it out because I
Yeah.
really want to know.
Yeah, I mean, like recently, it's the whole Deion Sanders, Eddie Robinson thing. That's the latest Black Twitter news.
I don't even know what's going on with that. Shows you how out of the loop I am.
I don't either.
Yeah.
And usually I'm kind of like, on the outskirts going, what's going on over there?
Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to get into it too late. It's not nothing bad, but
I'm going to go check it out.
Yeah, Deion is the coach of Jackson State, and him and Eddie Robinson Jr. had a game, and I guess at the end there was some.
Was this the whole thing where Deion wants to be called coach?
No, it was
it's
the
something else?
handshake was called Unsportsmanlike. So now they have a remix of this song with Deion. It's actually pretty good. He's gone viral. If you follow Deion Sanders on Instagram, you'll learn all about it. It is crazy. It's hilarious. But when I say that, it's like, what is our culture saying? And when we say we go to Black Twitter, what are we saying about it? Like, we may hear what's on the news, but like, what are we really saying about when it comes to politics and things like that? We have our own little, like, people that are big in social media to talk about different things.
No, I got it. That's all respectful, and I like all that stuff. But I still want to get back to focusing more on the Chicago Realtors.
So
what is their primary goal?
So the primary goal is to be the voice of real estate in communities, and so we want to be more consumer facing. As opposed to, because I think a lot of realtors may just look at, okay, the Chicago Realtors, what is it that they do for me? They just see that we need an association to sell real estate, but in actuality, it's a lot of things that you can take advantage of through the association, but also from the community standpoint. And so I was talking about the Diversity 77, and a lot of realtors do a lot of give back. And I think lenders as well, they are very involved from an advocacy, because sometimes I look at some lenders, I'm like, how are you doing loans? I mean, home inspectors, I don't know as many. How are you doing loans when you're doing all this give back? Attorneys, they have certain passion projects. So we want to be known for...
I just signed up for Give Back Homes.
Yes. So
and
we
I'm
don't
part
want to
of
be
that
known
program.
as a vendor or a salesperson just looking for a money grab. We want to be known as the holistic. We go into the communities. We partner with different organizations and vendors.
In the firehouse, when I worked there, we always said, do the right thing at the right time for the right reason.
Exactly.
And you do it the right way.
And so I'm sure you get business based on other things that you do outside of home inspector and realtor, and I'm sure Joey does outside of lending. You may get clients just on being who you are.
Yeah, not so much for me.
No?
For us, it's most of our business comes from our reputation. We
but
got over
it's-
1,600 five-star reviews.
And referrals.
And from past customers,
Yeah.
I've never really marketed to real estate agents until about a year ago.
Okay.
And I've been doing this since '93. And I built the business up. I let everybody go. We built it up again. We do have 10 inspectors, but this isn't about me, and I'm taking it about me again.
So I guess the question is, why did you start marketing to real estate agents?
Just recently?
Yes.
Because I'm a very prejudiced person, all right? I really believe that just about every human being out there is prejudiced. We just don't want to admit it.
We all have biases.
We all have biases.
We do.
And when I started this in '93, I had a few real estate agents that were pointing fingers at me and telling me, you're not allowed to do this, and they're telling me what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm like, this is correct information that my client wants to have, and I didn't like being controlled. I wanted to be in control.
Okay.
I have a set way. I'm a very stubborn man, and I have a very set way of the amount of information that I want to provide my client, and we get a lot of compliments from that as well, where we're doing it. So I'm going to take that as we're doing something right, and I just felt that I was at odds with real estate agents, all right? And then
Okay.
all of a sudden, I started meeting a few real estate agents. Surprisingly, most of them were a little younger, more towards the millennial ages, that they actually liked the product that we were delivering, all right? And then I'm like, all right, let's do some math. There's 80,000 licensed real estate agents in the state of Illinois, all right? I don't need to have 80,000 referring
Right.
business to me. I need to have a couple hundred, all right? But I want them to be like-minded. So, then I started joining BNI, all right?
What's BNI?
Business Networking International.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes.
It's a pretty big organization.
Right.
I joined them. And more so, I learned how to network. And I learned how to trust people. And, they got a 3-step process. First, you have to get to know somebody. Then you have to like them. And then you could trust them. And once you start trusting somebody, that's when you're able to give referrals, to each other, and you're on the same path, all right? But you got to be like-minded. And most people in the real estate business, they don't know who they are. All right.
That is correct. I would agree with that.
And they cannot express who they are. So that was one of the hardest things that I did, is like, well, who am I? All right. Why do we do what we do? Why do we do it the way that we do? Why do we put all these tools in here? And I put that in writing so that I could explain that to people. And once we started doing that, then all of a sudden I'm able to instantly find out if I have a real estate broker who is like-minded or one that doesn't agree with me. And if they don't agree with me, that's okay. I could still be polite. I could still be nice. All right? I just don't want to do business with them. Okay. All right? And that's okay.
That because, like you said, it's 80,000 realtors, and you're trying to get a small percentage of that, and I'm sure that's doable.
I would rather have one super strong relationship than 50, I don't even know who you are, relationships out there. That's just me. I don't know. How do you guys feel? That's enough of me talking on it.
Joey?
With what? Having the realtor relationship? Sorry. I just missed a bunch because a phone call came in.
Oh, Joey.
Shameful.
All right. It's because it blocks my audio in this, and I'm trying to smash, go to voicemail.
Oh, no.
So, yeah.
Well, Patrick, what about you then?
I will say I'm not nearly as thoughtful as you've been on it, just because, I don't know. You're very thoughtful on it. But similarly, I've more or less arrived at a similar conclusion, which is that I want to have really a small group of referral partners, strategic partners who we all vibe. And when you have a team, so I kind of have this theory that if you have a team, and the team meaning the real estate broker, mortgage broker, the inspector, everyone who is involved in the transaction, and the vibe is there, you elevate each other by about 10%, roughly, can be. On the other hand, if the vibe is not there, you can each subtract from what the other is trying to contribute by 30+%. Those are not scientific figures. I did not do any studies, but those are just, I've done, upwards of four digits real estate closings. I think at this point I have a pretty good idea of what is a good experience for the client and what isn't a good experience. And when I'm working with people who are like-minded, as you mentioned, that's when it goes well. That's when the client walks away from the situation going, you know what, I feel like I got taken care of the right way. I feel like I was not just part of this person's assembly line. And that's really ultimately what I'm looking to do. And also, it sounded like fun to do a radio show with you. So
I love it. That too.
Who doesn't want to be on the radio?
Yeah, no lie.
With these microphones.
But it goes back to, we got to get you to focus. It goes back to, though, are all real estate, I'm going to give you a couple test questions here. Let's see how well you do. Are all real estate agents the same?
No. I think that's across industries.
It's across industries. I agree.
Yes.
And we had a little bit of this in there.
Yeah, not at all.
All right.
And that's a good thing.
What makes you special?
And I guess the question is, who says I'm special?
The person who hires you. They chose you over 80,000 other people.
I think what makes me special is because I take time to research. I'm a data junkie. Okay. So we're not walking in like, hey, let me see your house. Because I get mostly referrals. I'm not doing as much residential as I used to, but we're having a conversation. It's not like a sales because we're trying to see if we're both a good fit for each other. And I'm looking at data. The data drives me. Sellers can say what they want to say, buyers can say what they want to say, but I'm looking at the data. So once we look at the data and then kind of what their goals are, when they wanted to reach those goals, and if we have a nice team, I think that's what makes me different, that I am data-driven and I come prepared. Like I can tell you how many showings been in this neighborhood in the last 6 months, and I'm really dialing into the data.
And everybody has access.
Everyone has access.
This is an important thing to add on there because everybody has access to that information. Yes. And when I say everybody, I mean all the real estate agents that belong to the association.
Correct.
All right.
Because I've been on interviews with people, and they say, well, where did you get this from? Because we had another interview, and I was like, it's all here.
And that's where, Joey, I know you use the term lazy lenders. And so there's good and bad everywhere.
Yeah.
All right?
Yes.
There really is.
I mean, it's just like you just said, we all are created equal.
And one of and a few other questions, there was an old joke. What are the 3 most important words in real estate?
Always be closing.
Ooh, that's different than what I normally hear. All right.
Those are ABCs.
Right.
We just learned something.
We always go with location, location, location.
Yeah.
All right.
But
But
I think it shifts.
It
based
does
on,
shift.
Yeah.
But more importantly, though, and I'm a little bit against it, always be closing, and everything is how you interpret it, right? I always say the 3 most important words to a real estate professional should be reputation, reputation, reputation. Because what we're selling is ourselves, everybody who's in the real estate business.
Yes.
Why should they work with you? And it's your reputation. And you have to build that trust with your client. And once you build that trust with your client, if you do something that is not in the best interest for your client, you have just ruined your reputation. And it's that quick and easy.
But I do think there's a new type of consumer out there, because I have heard, especially in the generation that comes up with the social media, so many people have picked agents off social media just based on what they post, and they assume that they are this. And I spoke with another client yesterday, and she said she was very disturbed on how many frauds are out there. And so
interesting. Go into more details.
So they tell someone on Instagram, and they are touting all this work and what they do, and
is it outright a fraud? Is it a lie?
Well, the problem is they didn't do their research. They saw online on
and they being the buyer, or the client,
the consumer.
Right.
They look at that and they see that if this person has these things, they look the part, and they are in front of this really nice house, they're assuming something. So I don't think it was they're defrauded. I think the agent is just putting out there what's pleasing to the eyes, which works on social media. You can buy. They have
that they want to be.
Yes, and they and I've heard
tremendous
of
marketers.
Yes.
But there's not much behind it. Sort
but
of like
that's what marketing is. I mean, that's what real estate is for the most part. Marketing.
Yeah, I would compare it when you walk into a house and it says gut rehab, and you've got some new. You've got some new, the cabinet's been painted. You've got some new countertops, some new hardware.
I hate those.
But then you go in and the furnace is 30 years old.
But even from pictures, like we can do, like I had a client, we took some pictures for another unit I have in University Village, and she had a bunch of things in the middle. I have them wipe it out. Like, we can do those things, so we disclose that, but I think the consumer now has to take more accountability for their research, because if you're lazy on the front end, that it takes its toll.
And we're finding that, again, it goes back to marketing direct to consumer is what most of our company does.
Right.
A lot of our clients, I would say, are in the 80 percentile. I hear the same story over and over again. We took the home inspector from a referral from the real estate agent, and what they didn't realize was the real estate agent might not have had their best interest at hand.
Correct.
Maybe they were focusing more on closing, and I'm not trying to be derogatory. Please don't think I am.
That is true, because that could be an ethical violation.
Exactly, and let's get it here. Limit the information. Don't be transparent with your clients and that. And I'm just not for that. I can't have that in my life, all right?
Yes.
I just can't do that. So, and don't get me wrong, I want things aggravated. I'm not out there to also kill the deal or scare people from it. And it's daunting. Buying a house is daunting, all right? It's emotional. It's tough. And then, and now you have to circle yourself, and I think this is where you were going a little bit. You want to have your team, all right, that you can trust, all right, that are all going to be like-minded, that are going to be there, and you're all working in the benefit of the client.
Correct.
And when everything's done, and if it's done right, you have just strengthened your reputation as that client sees you. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement.
And now, here's the president stuff, Madam President. How are you going to get that mindset into the Chicago Realtors?
Well, as president, that's a big, you start with what you have, and you just baby steps. And so, am I looking at...
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
It's daunting itself.
Yes, it is.
So what are some of the thoughts? What are some of the education things that you're going to have, or podcast, or what are the tools that are available through the Chicago Association to improve real estate agents?
So I think it's just getting people to use it. I think that's my
Okay.
biggest thing when I'm going out. Like when someone says, "Oh, I want to get involved. Oh, what are you interested in? This is how you apply for a committee." It's more of people just don't know. You know, I mean,
That's
you're
true.
president of the
Illinois Association of Home Inspectors. Yeah.
and
Yeah,
so
you got to go IAHI.
right. I was like, yeah, it doesn't sound good, but you are.
I almost like the Illinois inspectors. I think I should just go right that route, you know?
And I would think naturally you would want more inspectors involved in how it goes because you know, like I don't have all the answers, and you don't have all the answers. So diversity in thought is key. So my goal is to just reach out to more people that want to get involved and kind of help them navigate the process. Because I think people just don't even know where to start, and I don't want to start anything new like, oh, we're going to start this new education thing, or that may come about through more realtors. If we have almost 18,000 realtors, but they always say the top 10% is the people that really do the work. I'm not gonna be blind and say, hey, we're not gonna have thousands of people involved. I just would like to make sure that there's diversity in thought across the board in all committees, events, and things like that.
Sarah, how do people get hold of you?
Sarah you can call me 312-576-8466. Call or text.
All right, and the name of your company again, please?
Ware Realty Group.
Do you memorize what your website is?
WareRealtyGroup.com.
I love that. Good. Believe it or not, I had a long time where I didn't even know my own phone number. All right.
Really?
That went for a little bit. I had to write it down each time. Patrick, how do they get hold of you, please?
Oh man, 773-632-8330.
And that's loftuslaw.com. Is that right?
Loftus-law.com
Loftus-law.com.
or loftus.law.
All right. Either way works. That's terrific. And Joey, how do they get hold of you?
I can be reached at 630-235-2405. Call or text anytime, day or night, Christmas Day, tomorrow morning, doesn't matter to me.
Outstanding.
Ooh.
And my name is Charlie Belfontaine. I own Chicagoland Home Inspectors. Our website is www.thehomeinspectors. That's plural, O-R-S, and it's a .com. Our phone number is 312-544-9180. Did you see how good I said that,
Yes.
Sarah? I actually got it memorized now. That's awesome. We also own Home Inspection University, and that's Home Inspection University of Illinois, to be correct, and that's HIUIL.com. Again, that's HIUIL.com if you're interested in joining the home inspection business. So we were talking about the Chicago Association of Realtors and making Chicago realtors aware of the tools that are available to them and motivate people to go ahead and get involved in doing that.
Yes.
And Chicago realtors, I actually think they do a pretty decent job. I hear a lot of their press releases.
Yes.
How many lobbyists do they have working in the state?
So Illinois Realtors or Chicago?
Chicago.
So we have two, like one is county, one is city. The one for the city, he just left, so they will be replaced. But two are under the Chicago Realtor umbrella. But they all pretty much report downstate to the Illinois Realtors.
Which I think he has like 15.
If that.
Lobbyists.
Well, yeah, about 15, yes.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
up there. And I know with the Illinois Association of Home Inspectors, we got one. All right, so we're a smaller group.
Yeah, smaller group. We have 50,000 in the state.
Yeah, but I got to say we've done some work with the Illinois Realtors and also work with the Illinois Real Estate Attorneys Association. I believe that was the right name.
Almost. IRELA, Illinois Real Estate Lawyers Association.
Lawyers Association. Thank you.
So I have a quick question. You said
Yeah.
you do education for home inspectors.
Correct.
What does that look like?
I don't understand what you're asking me
is
so
it
much.
like real estate class? People always ask me, how do I be a realtor? How do you become a home inspector? And the reason I asked that because
I'm
I
almost
think,
embarrassed to tell you the answer. So
well, it's just that I think it's a great way to, you can make a living, and I mean there could be some diversity. I'm just guessing it could be a little bit more diversity, but I think people don't really know about it. I didn't know about it, so tell me. I can tell people.
No, absolutely. So the state of Illinois requires that everybody who wants to get a license to be a home inspector to take a 60-hour class. That's 60-hour class. You have to follow some knucklehead like me around on 5 inspections. All right.
Just
so
5?
Just 5. I know. I'm shaking my head too. I'm embarrassed to say that. Then once you do that, you have to pass the school's test, which normally isn't always that difficult, and then that allows you to sit for the state exam. And the state exam, all you have to do is get 70% on a multiple choice test.
So it's
all
like
right?
a realtor.
It's a lot like a realtor,
Yeah.
but the only difference is we don't have post-licensure education where you guys do. All
Is
right?
that really education?
I don't know what it is. I've never gone that far.
How many
I
people
have-
do you know anyone? Do you know anyone that has failed post licensing?
No, but it's not meant to
Yeah,
post, but
it's
it's meant to go ahead and bring and reaffirm the stuff that you talked about 6 months or a year ago. All right, and that's the biggest problem is people come and go in our profession, and I know it's the same in the real estate
Yes.
business too.
Yes.
And what the real problem is, we end up getting a bad reputation. You know, right now the state of Illinois is issuing over 13,000 license for home inspectors since 2002. Yet we only have 2,000 active licensees, and our license expires November 30th, and I bet you we'll lose half of them. All right, so we'll probably be down to 1,000 or under 1,000 home inspectors within the state of Illinois. But what even if we stay at 2,000, what does that tell you? 11,000 people out of the 13,000 people got a license to do this profession, and they're gone.
Well, I have some theories about that.
Sure.
Well, it's probably like the appraisal. They can't find a person to work under.
That's not how our law works. As soon as you pass that test and you get your 70%, poof, you're a highly trained professional.
You said somebody you have to go up under someone for 5 appraisals,
Well,
5
it's
inspections.
5 inspections, and I do that.
You
and
may
there's
be
other
it.
people, and we do it publicly. We use foreclosed homes, and we bring multiple inspectors, and we do this once a month. So anybody who
So
wants
anybody
to
can
do
just
it,
come and just.
anybody could just come. And our classes too, just to give you a heads up, we're putting all of our online programs and all the videos that we create. We're doing that free. All right, it's the field events we're starting to charge for. But we want, especially you, for example, a real estate agent. I would love you to learn my business.
Well, it's
all
not
right?
even to learn, but learn it. But
Well, think how that empowers you to
that is
empower
true.
your client.
That is true.
When you're going out doing showings and then all of a sudden some of these big things will pop up at you and you're like, okay, that's going to come as a red flag. You're going to be able to prepare your client for that. You're going to be able to recognize. It may not be 100% true.
Right.
But you're going to prepare them. But if it's too much for them, guess what you just did? You saved them a roller coaster ride from going through the whole signing the agreement, getting the earnest money, paying for the inspector, getting the attorneys involved. And then,
that could
and
be
then
a way
then
to.
the deal is killed. All right.
And then I don't waste a whole file folder over a deal that's just going to go, in the banker's box.
And I know
banker's
you're
box.
good,
Well, that's where all
Yeah, I
my
know.
retired files go.
but I get that. But all of us are here, and the reason why we're doing, a lot of this is to bring awareness to the home buyers. Why let them go through such a horrible experience?
Yes.
All they want to do is buy a home. It's the greatest virtue that anybody can have in these great United States of America. Okay, yeah, I'm waving my flag. All right.
Oh, here we
I'm
go.
all
Wow.
over this stuff, but it
Yeah,
is
no
home
cut.
ownership and owning property is one of the primary things to getting wealth, and
If
it's
you
the
can
big
afford it.
American dream.
If you can afford it.
And I get that.
Yes.
And that's where we have to start getting more things where motivation of people to do stuff
And I'm not saying
equality,
it
not
from
holding it back.
and I'm not saying from a from a motivation. I mean, Joey can probably speak to this. I'm sure he gets people's files. Like, I'm still amazed at the car note, what people pay for car notes. And so when I say if they're
Oh my
prepared,
Yeah.
preparation. So I mean, Joey can probably talk more about this, but I don't get into, like, people think just because they have a credit score and they say they make this amount of money. I think people need to be educated on, okay, wealth building is not like buying a lot of nice material things. It's more of taking accountability of what your spending habits are. Because what is it, Joey? 50% of DTI. Like, what are people giving loans? I used to be. I think when I bought a house, my first, it was like 33% or something, the max. I don't remember, but it was nowhere near 50, and I wouldn't even be comfortable with that. And I think we have to make some choices as people.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, loaded statement, because it's different for different programs. Like, VA
Well,
loans,
yes, but I mean,
that's not
yes.
even yeah.
But I
If you're
remember
looking conventional,
3350.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're looking conventional, I mean, the back end DTI, I've never really gotten approval over 50, right? Like, because, and it doesn't make sense to. FHA I've done FHA at 55, and I tell people, I'm like, guys, this is a terrible idea. You are going to hate me in a year or two, right? I'm very, very blunt about it, because if I'm not comfortable, like, because every loan I take on, I view the payment and the income like that's mine. Like, this is what my life is going to be like, right? So I'm very
That's a
blunt
big
with them. I'm
deal.
like, hey,
Yes.
yeah, I would hate to put someone in that position, but they're the ones who are going to make that decision at the end of the day. All I can do is try to scare them away. I shouldn't say scare, but inform them. But yeah, it's wild on the VA side because it's a residual income loan. I've gone as high as 70% back at DTI. Why does that work? It's because the guy he made an incredible amount of money, right? So his residual income was still insane, even at a 70% DTI.
Okay. But everything goes back to
70%.
expectations, right, Joey? I mean, it's as long as the person who's buying the house and they know what it is, what their lifestyle is going to be like, and they're going to be able to live with it. That again, I'm going to wave my flag again. The greatest thing we have in this country is that freedom of choice.
Yes.
All right. And
Yep.
the one thing that I will go to the wall with, to defend like there's no tomorrow is that freedom of choice. And that's what I believe is what we do here, all of us on this show right now, is that we empower people with knowledge so that they can maintain their freedom of choice. And whatever they do with that information is up to them, as long as it's good, accurate information. Is that fair?
Fair.
Yeah. No,
think
absolutely. Because whether I wrote the loan or someone else did, they were going to buy that house.
Right.
So,
but now we
yeah.
just want to let them know
Provide
what
the
it
info.
is and what's going to happen and give them as much information as they can. But sometimes it doesn't always happen. We get some bad apples out there. And one of the things that I like to read every month is the disciplinary reports from the IDFPR. And I know the Illinois Realtors has a professional standards committee out there,
Yes.
and you sit on that,
I
don't
sit
you
on
know?
that. I hope not to see anyone's name that I know. But
Well,
yes.
yeah, I don't blame you. I see people that I know on our discipline stuff, and we don't have a board. The home inspectors don't. All
Yeah,
right, that got demolished in 2011.
That gets awkward. I can tell you I've had a couple of occasions where you've seen someone on the list of censured or disciplined lawyers, and then
Yeah.
you're in court with them next week, or you have a real estate transaction with them, and you're like, I know what you did.
It's all public
Oh, it's
record
all
that comes in
public.
there.
Yes, it
So
is.
tell me about that. What are the things that the committee over there, the Professional Standards Committee, what are the things that you're looking for, and what is your role there?
So it's a role that a committee determines sanctions or discipline for cases that have come against, like it could be an agent to agent, consumer to agent, and so.
But this is done through the Illinois Realtors.
Correct.
This is not part of the Real Estate Administrative and Disciplinary Board.
It is not, because I know someone who sits on the IDFPR board. That's a different board, because sometimes cases are referred to Illinois Realtors and IDFPR. You can refer cases to both.
And the Illinois Realtors disciplines people?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
the code.
Yeah,
the
there's
code of ethics.
there's two sets of rules.
Yes.
There's the rules that are established by the Real Estate Licensing Act.
Correct.
But the realtors themselves, they have their own higher standard, and that's what they're attempting to convey in some of the TV advertising. I think that you may or may not have seen.
And just to be clear, whenever we use the term realtors, we're talking about people that belong to the National Association of Realtors, and then they have. Are these like chapters, or when we're talking about the Illinois Realtors, or are they completely separate organizations?
No, we're under the National Association of Realtors, which
Okay.
is the largest trade organization. And just because you're because many people that are licensed use the term realtor, and they are not. They should not, because we are a trade organization, and that R is trademarked.
All caps with the R next to it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's what I was going for. So whenever we use the term realtor, we're not talking about a real estate broker. We're talking about somebody who belongs to that organization. And when they belong to that organization, you guys mentioned higher ethics. Tell me about that, please.
We are held to a higher standard. Because if you're licensed, you don't follow. Like commercial brokers have a license, but they're not held to the code of ethics. So it's interesting, because when I do work on a deal, if I'm with a commercial broker, we're held to different standards, and it could be different standards in the same transaction.
Yeah, because I think the reasoning being that in a commercial transaction, the presumption would be that you're dealing with people that know what they're doing, as opposed to just the general group of consumers who, in general, get more protections in terms of, just about everything.
Partially, but commercial brokers, they're not licensed realtors because if a CBRE, they can't just have one licensed realtor because they have to have
CBRE, tell me what that means. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
That's a commercial company.
All right.
It's
I always thought it was Caldwell
it's
Banker
not.
Real
Most
Estate.
people,
It's not.
Most people do, but
All
like
right.
Jones Lang LaSalle, JLL. But if every licensed broker would have to go under an association if they have one person that has MLS.
Okay.
Or be a part. So every broker would have to be a part of the National Association of Realtors. So from an economic standpoint, it does not make sense for large commercial firms to do that.
Okay.
So we, the Chicago Realtors, we have a committee called the Commercial Forum, and you do
Okay.
not have to be licensed realtor to be in that
Interesting.
group. And so we have realtors. We have commercial practitioners that are practitioners, but they're not licensed realtors, but they are part of the group.
Nice. Maybe
Yeah.
we should put a home inspector on that committee.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
yeah, because we have an attorney. Especially we mix it up.
Yeah.
So
And it's good to get different views and different things that come in there.
and they get a seat on the board. Like we have a person who sits on the board. They're not a realtor.
Yeah.
Like you can sit on our board. Like if I picked you, I picked a lender to sit on the board because we want to know the lender's perspective. We want an attorney. It's usually the president and attorney. We always try to have an attorney on the board out of 19.
There's always a lawyer there for some reason.
Well, we want to
Well,
get
you need
free
to.
work. We need
Yeah.
free work. Come on now.
But even that, you find in the laws and the definitions
Yes.
of like commercial property and residential real property. All right.
Yes.
Now, because home inspectors have a law, and we have definitions in our law. All right. And in ours, the term residential real property is defined as any building that has one or more people intended to live in that building.
This is why we need an attorney on the board.
All right. But yeah, when we talk about commercial properties on the real estate agents, what is it? More than 6 or more than 4? I forgot.
4 more. I look at it from a lending perspective, right? I think, Joe, you can't.
Thank you.
Yeah, because somebody will come with an approval and like, no, you can't buy this. This is not a property you can buy. And
Yep.
yeah.
Let's go ahead and do one more time around the horn, then we'll continue with this. Sarah, how do people get hold of you again, please?
Sarah Ware, 312-576-8466. Call or text, warerealtygroup.com.
Thank you. Patrick, please.
773-632-8330, patrick@loftus.law.
And Joey.
Joey Matthews, 630-235-2405.
And what's that tagline that makes me smile every time? I'm sorry, I got to make you say it.
World's okayest mortgage guy.
Thank you. Come on, doesn't it
Or
make you
dude.
smile?
I don't know.
Or dude.
I like Ware Realty Group.
There it is.
I know I like Where in the World. Where in the World.
That one wasn't available
I like
on
Where in the
TikTok?
World. I like that.
Yeah, Where in the World.
And I'm going to throw one plug in for me. And this is Charlie Belfontaine with Chicagoland
Well,
Home
yeah,
Inspectors.
mortgages are fun.
And mortgages are fun. That's right. And our website is www.thehomeinspectors.com. You can schedule it right online there. And our schedule is always live and update. And then our Home Inspection University of Illinois is hiuil.com. And we were talking about the Illinois Realtors, more specifically the professional standards. So how many complaints or how often do you guys meet?
So we don't meet on, there's the staff person that runs it, and so there could be a complaint and they'll email because it's a pool of people that are that are trained to listen,
Okay.
and so they'll put a pool and say, hey, I need XYZ people to listen to this case on this date, and so they may email it out to about 8 to 10 people. So it's usually 4 or 5 of us that sit on a committee, and then we listen to the case, discuss it, deliberate, and then we come up with a case.
And that's outstanding. Now, I don't know what much more to say. What are some of the...
What's the most common thing
That's-
that gets complained about?
Thank you.
There's usually one that you just see over and over again.
It's unauthorized access.
That's big. And
Yes.
that's also
That's $2,500
That's
bucks.
a legal thing.
Yes.
So unauthorized access. What?
Lockbox violation. I gave you the code. I gave you a central lock one-day code. I opened it for you.
Yeah.
All that, and everyone's like, I didn't mean to, and because it has been cases where
Yeah.
the homeowners have come home to find people in their house.
That's kind of scary.
Yes,
And that was...
Yeah.
that's
That's
still the number one violation. Number one, hands down.
And I know
Yeah.
that's also an IDFPR fine. Because
Yes.
I've seen that one.
Yes.
I remember one, it was during COVID, where the real estate agent let the clients in and the home inspector in. This was for the home inspection. So they let everybody in, and they didn't feel comfortable being around them because of the COVID stuff, so they went back and sat in their car for a few hours. And you just can't do that.
Yes, it's yes. It's so that's our number one.
Let's be clear on this, though. Can you, as a listing agent, give permission for somebody else to go into that property?
List somebody like a random person or what
Negative. So let's say that I'm doing a home inspection on the property. You're the listing agent, and my client and I want to go there. The buyer's agent can't be there. Can you give me permission to go in there?
If the seller is okay with that. Like there are cases where the seller may, if it's vacant, they may say, because at the end of the day, the seller wants to sell their property. So if my seller has given me permission to say, hey, I know that you won't be there, the inspector can come at the time and show. They can, here's a 1-day code you get that all in writing.
But you want that in writing from the actual owner of the house. So you want
from everyone.
You want from everyone. So you don't really have like a power of attorney where you can make decisions for the seller of the home. Everything has to go through them and get permission in there.
And I guess from an attorney perspective, if there's a blanket statement in the beginning, because there are some homes that attorneys represent instead of the seller, that could be because like estates and things like that.
Well, yeah, that stuff gets complicated.
Yes.
I guess I would throw it back to you. Since you're the one who's deciding such matters, what would be your, let's say when these things come up, what would be your kind of nutshell best practice as far as?
Don't do it. You're there to represent the client, period. That's why you have a license.
So don't do it. Get someone to...
Just do it when you can. It's 24 hours in a day.
Or get someone to pinch hit if you've got like a broker you work with. So always be available.
Always have a licensee there to represent the buyers.
I think that is excellent advice.
No, without a doubt I do. And it comes back to, there's so much more that I want to talk about, but we are running out of time like we always do. Where it comes with it. So
I have so much to say, though.
I apologize for that.
That's okay.
I apologize for that at all. So real quick, one final question that I'm going to ask for a quick answer because I do want to give contact information before we run out of here. One of the things that they're putting in our home inspector law, I just lost my train of thought on that one, so I might be dropping the whole damn question off. I apologize for that one there. In fact, I am going to do that because we only got 1 minute left here to go. Sarah, if you don't mind, how do people get hold of you again? Give us all the details.
All right, Sarah Ware. I can be reached 312-576-8466. Call or text warerealtygroup.com or Ware Sarah L on Instagram.
And then Patrick, please.
Boy, our first cliffhanger since I've been involved. Find out next week what that question was.
Yeah, right? I'm sorry about that. I'm going to write it down. I do have it here in my notes. But how do they get hold of you?
773-632-8330, Patrick@loftus.law.
And Joey, the world's okayest mortgage broker?
Okayest mortgage broker.
630-235-2405.
Fantastic. And that's the Federal Savings Bank. And again, my name is Charlie Belfontaine with Chicagoland Home Inspectors. Our website is thehomeinspectors.com. Our phone number is 312-544-9180. I'd like to give special thank you to our producer, Devin Tingle.
Thanks, Devin.
And Sarah Ware, thank you for being here, everybody. This is Charlie, and I am out.